What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are here with another episode of Lions Latest. So we have the latest Detroit Lions news following the tie yesterday to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I know this is a different Monday video than we usually do, but yesterday I talked about the game and kind of my takeaways from it. Today I did a rewatch a few times. I don't want to go too deep into that. Like, I don't want to do a full dive and rewatch because I know at the midweek we're going to do a film review either tomorrow or Wednesday. We usually do it on Wednesday, so we'll take a look at the All-22. And tonight we have Last Second Dose. Tonight on Rad's channel, Last Second Sports, so make sure you guys check that out. Have we ran the intro yet? I don't think we have. I'm going to hold off from that. I'll talk a little bit about what I took away from the game, save some for tonight's show as well, but also this week we're going to dive into the All-22 anyway, and we have some updates with injuries, all that kind of stuff. So let's get it started.
The city's been down, and it found a way to get up. And when you knock us down, we're going to get up. And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off, all right? And we're going to stand up, and then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down. We're going to take another hunk out of you. Before long, we're going to be the last one standing.
Welcome everybody to our video. Glad you guys are here. We got a few things to dive into today. We got to hear from Dan Campbell and from Taylor Decker after the game today on Monday. Plus, we have some injury updates. Now, not a ton of specifics, but we do have some updates there as well. Some updates on Josh Reynolds and whether or not he will be playing next week and maybe why he didn't play this week. So we got a few things to dive into, and this is just like it's titled, Lions Latest. It's just the latest news for the Lions after this game. First off, a couple notes from Dan Campbell's presser day. He was asked about the kicker position because the Lions missed 2 of their 3 kicks in this last game. Actually, 2 of their 4, right? Because they had some, I don't know the exact number. Okay, no numbers here. The Lions missed 2 kicks in this game that were very crucial when you look at the final score. An extra point that technically would have gave us the win on paper, and also the game-winning field goal in overtime that was less than 50 yards that would have also won this game. And according to Dan Campbell, there was no mess-ups with the procedure up to the kick. It was all good, good snap, good hold. We just missed both of those kicks. So Campbell was blunt today when asked about that situation and said, look, we're going to be bringing in kickers this week.
We're going to bring some guys in, work them out, and, just see who the best man for the job is.
And I know Justin, I think, asked you a little bit about the kick after the game. Was there anything else beyond weather that impacted that last one? No.
No, the procedure was good. The snap hold was good on both, and nope.
So yeah, expect the Lions to have some names this week that we bring up of guys that are brought in for workouts to at least compete this week. Now, there's no guarantee that they take his spot. It's not a ton of time. But yeah, the Lions, to me, they at least have to bring someone in for competition. Just leaving it as it is not okay. Now we don't have Austin Seibert for at least the next 2 weeks because we know he's on injury reserve dealing with his right hip injury. So Ryan Santoso is our kicker right now for the next 2 weeks at least. So the Lions, according to Dan Campbell, will be bringing in some competition this week. I think that's the right thing to do. Now, yes, the conditions weren't great, but we also saw Boswell go out there and knock one in, I believe, from 50 plus. He made his kicks. And Ryan Santoso made a kick in this game as well. The first one that he took going in at halftime and the extra point after our first touchdown. Like, I should at least mention this, that we know Ben Roethlisberger, he tested with COVID, so he was out, so that doesn't affect us really. But Minkah Fitzpatrick, after the game, I believe he tested positive for COVID. So that's just something to keep in mind. Hopefully nothing comes of this. I really don't want anything to happen. But the Lions, they'll be doing their tests and stuff. Dan Campbell didn't know when, just to make sure that they're okay coming away from this game. We have a ton of specifics here, unfortunately, but we do have some injury updates for the Lions after we saw basically 5 players go down in this game, which was tough. Some guys that were actually playing well as well. So it was tough to have those injuries, but the good thing is the Lions, Dan Campbell, at least according to Dan Campbell, they feel like they may have avoided anything serious with any of these injuries that they dealt with in Sunday's game. So that's the good news. The good news is he doesn't believe anything super serious here. Actually, some of the injuries that they had may have looked worse than they actually are. Let's start there with Jermar Jefferson, the running back who went down after his touchdown. He did not come back in that game. He did get rolled up on that touchdown, and Dan Campbell says that he believes it may be not as serious as we initially thought. However, it still could be about a week thing. So he may not play this next week, which would stink. Keep in mind, we do have Jamal Williams, who maybe he returns this week. We haven't seen him in the last 2 games. Remember, this past week, he did not practice at all. So he'll be a name to keep an eye on as well.
Where he's at. I mean, I don't think it's as bad as we thought it was going to be, but that doesn't mean that this isn't going to be a week or so or something. But we'll know more tomorrow. but it's a good sign when you see him come in and run the way he ran, and then to see Godwin go in there and do what he did.
But they do think that they possibly avoided anything super serious. Now, today they're getting things checked out, so they're kind of just in a wait and see mode with a lot of the injuries that they're dealing with. Matt Nelson was another one of those players who I felt like Matt Nelson played maybe his best game as a Lion, like if we're being honest, because he stepped in as kind of the sixth offensive lineman. It's something that the Lions clearly wanted to do. It was clearly part of their game plan. In the past, they did this with like Will Holden, but it allowed Matt Nelson to be that sixth man, and he flourished in that role. Not being one of the five, but the sixth man in. He flourished in that role when we needed him. He opened up a lot of holes. We saw Decker, and I thought Decker came out a little rusty, like he had an early false start, an early run block miss, which kind of blew up a play. But I felt like as the game got going, man, he played much better. We started to kind of get the feel of, okay, this was the offensive line was kind of supposed to be, right? We were supposed to be a team that could win the ugly football games, that could get in the trenches and bully you and beat you on the ground. And I felt like the Lions, for a lot of ways, did that in this game. And that was really encouraging because you're talking about a Steelers team that's known for that. They're known for their trenches. You're on the road. It's not good weather conditions. You can win on the road. You can win in the cold environments, like we've always had issues with in the past, right? We kind of saw that come into play. But unfortunately, Matt Nelson went down with an injury after playing what I thought was maybe his best game of the Lion in his role. But again, maybe avoiding something serious here. Trey Flowers, we know he also missed some time in that game, but he actually came back in that game. That's why Deshaun Hand got a lot more snaps at the defensive end / outside linebacker position. We saw some of the things Trey Flowers, he's just a little bit limited just because of his build on what he can do and how fast he can get there. But Julian, I think we're starting to see him continue to flourish in this role. And I think, I don't know if Trey Flowers is going to be after this season. I don't think he will be here after this season. But I think for guys like Julian Okwara, you're seeing how well they can fit in this scheme and what they're asked to do, how well it really fits their strengths. He had his first career interception in this past game, which was pretty darn awesome on what wasn't a good pass. It was a check down that was high, that was picked off by Julian, but it was still a heck of a play. Hopefully we're avoiding anything serious here with Trey Flowers as well. Tracy Walker, he was evaluated for a concussion in our last game, but again, no specifics on T-Walk, but he did say that he thinks he's going to be all right, and he believes that he'll be ready for next week. So the thing is, he should be ready to go next week against Cleveland. Now, an update with a guy that didn't play in this last game, that's Josh Reynolds. According to Dan Campbell, he said when he's up, he's up. Probably a few things that he could have done just because of what we ran offensively, but we wanted to make sure that he was ready for the playbook and we could put him in a position to be successful. That way, when he's up, it's not just, he's here, but he can only play a couple snaps. Instead, he should be up next week against the Cleveland Browns. So expect to see the debut of Josh Reynolds next week or this upcoming game, which is it's still exciting. So be excited for that. We'll update on Jared Goff. Not a big one here. He said he was getting checked out today, but again, he was sore after the game like a lot of these players were, but he didn't think it would be anything super serious there either. Dealt with what he called a strained oblique on the right side, and that came after the first Khalif Raymond deep pass, I believe. So he said that was kind of nagging him throughout the game, but it was never something obviously the Lions took him out for, but they think that it's not going to be maybe something too serious here, but right now he's getting checked on today. So that's something that we'll know more later than we know right now with Jared Goff. So we'll kind of keep an eye on that and where that goes and how that gets better. Also got to hear from Taylor Decker today, and this dude did not hold back at all. It was like, oh snap, Decker just went off on the media because Decker did not hold back. I mean, he talked about that he wasn't super happy with maybe some of the things that were being said about him because he was missing his time and, some of the made up trade rumors that were thrown out there. Things the media was saying was unfair because he said he felt like he played well up until this point. He just could not play for the first 8 weeks of the season, and a lot of things that were being said about him was unfair.
Frankly, I feel like the narrative of negativity surrounding my name all year pretty much has been I don't feel like it's been deserved. I do feel like people within the building, and I do feel like a lot of fans appreciate me and what I can do for this team. But yeah, the media pretty much all year has been pretty negative around me, and so I'm not going to act like I like that. I think I've played a lot of football here, and I think I played well.
Parents had to talk to him, and they wondered of whether or not he was going to be a Lion, if he was going to get traded. Just a lot of things he said the media was putting out there just simply for clicks. Okay, yes, we know that this is a thing, that there are things that are thrown out there for clicks. I do feel like that happens when you miss some time and things aren't going well. It's easy to kind of look at a guy like Decker and be like, yeah, he ain't that good. He ain't that good, okay? But at the same time, we know how important he was in getting him back to the field. For one, I've talked about this for a while, how important it was going to be to get a guy like Taylor Decker back for the Lions, and I think we felt that. that, even just aside from what Decker did, because like I said, I feel like he came out a little bit rusty in this game, but he got going and it was very beneficial. But even not even just what Taylor Decker did, but also what it did for Matt Nelson, allowing him to be kind of that sixth man and how much it really jolted that run game for us. I think that was huge. And like I said, it was kind of what we expected this O-line to be heading into the season. A little bit less because there is no Frank Ragnow, but this is kind of what we expected to see. And for him to miss this much time, he also talked about how his injury was something that he was told was going to be a 3-month injury. Missing about 50 pounds of power in his right hand. He said for a while it was only really 2 fingers that were working for him. And he's like, when you're trying to block 260-pound guys that run a 4.6 40, that's tough because this is the job that you really need your hand. And for him, his right hand was pretty much not useful for him. And then he tried to come back with a cast on about the setback because that after that time, his hand kind of swelled up. And because of the metal that he had put in his hand, because of that, they couldn't really see what the issue was. So they kind of had to set back. I feel like I probably need to apologize a little bit. You know, we got a little frustrated and we're like, Decker, bro, it's a hand. Why can't you just get out there, throw a cast on and play? We didn't know what he was exactly going through with his right hand. We just knew that it was a right hand injury. And we heard about players playing with the right hand. We knew that guys have just thrown on a cast before and done it. So, you know, that part. But at the same time, I also knew how impactful it was going to be to have a guy like Taylor Decker back. And I understand what he's saying there. He said, I got things sent to me. I didn't go out and look for it. So, yeah, Taylor Decker wasn't playing around in today's presser. We'll talk about that more tonight on Last Second Dose, but I at least wanted to bring that up. But I can say this. It's good to have that guy back on the football field, and I'm glad we're having him back. I've never been this excited to see a guy on the injury report with full participation. So I was hyped knowing that he was able to play, and I feel like we started to feel the impact of that, and we're going to feel it going forward as well now that he's got this game under his belt, and he's probably knocked some of that rust off going forward. And again, it was a really good Steelers defensive line, and it hopefully should help some other guys on our O-line. Speaking of the offensive line, Campbell talked about it today, and some of the pass protection breakdowns that we continue to have. And again, I don't want to go all into this in this video. We'll do that more in the All 22 and tonight, but for some reason, we seem to continue to have some of these issues in pass protection, blitz pickups, our offensive line. For some reason, I don't know who this has to go on, but maybe some of this is because you have a backup center in the game. And I feel like Evan Brown has done pretty well. Like, there's a lot of moments where I'm watching, like, man, he's playing well, like, out there as a backup center for what your expectations are. Like, he's moving people. He's helping us a ton of the run game. Even in pass protection, he's doing pretty solid for what you would expect. Obviously, he gave up a little bit of pressure on that deep shot, which Dan Campbell brought up, is we didn't try to pass it a ton, but when we did, still our pass protection is breaking down, in Dan Campbell's words, on those pass plays that we're trying to pick up. When we're trying to take a shot down the field, we still have pass protection broke down. He brought up the fact that we gave up 4 sacks. 1 was on the quarterback, 3 was on our pass protection breakdowns that we have. And this continues to kind of be a thing. I know Jonah Jackson has continued to struggle in pass protection. Maybe more of this, we should be pointing at him having a backup center next to him and a young center rather than him not having Taylor Decker, because Decker was back, and this could be more on the fact that he does have a guy like Evan Brown who's young with those pass protection pickups, because he's still a very young guard. And I think we've just seen some struggles picking up on stunts still on the left side where Decker may pick it up, but Jonah Jackson's late and it gets pressure, just losing a one-on-one, some kind of miscommunication, some kind of pass protection breakdown, as Dan Campbell puts it, where you get a free rusher, where you have more guys to block, less guys coming, but they still get a free rusher against us, and they get a clean sack. So like he said, we didn't pass a lot, but when we tried to take some of our shots, there was a couple of times where, man, we had no chance to even get the ball off. Now, we did pick up a few of these where we had the St. Brown one over the middle. Like Campbell said, like even on that shot to Khalif Raymond, Evan Brown was beat, and we know Jared Goff doesn't have the arm where he can kind of just flick that thing. He literally needs to step up on that pass to be able to get it there. And we had some space, we're just a tad behind because of that. It's all timing to these routes. And like Campbell said, we didn't do a ton of shot plays, but when we did, we just had some pass protection breakdowns. And even this one he brought up was the first shot that we took. Watch Evan Brown on this play. You're going to see the pressure that he gives up. And since these are all timing, you know, because Goff's holding left and he's going to come back, he's going to take that shot. Because as you can see that pressure in his face, he's unable to step up and fire that. Because if he steps up, now the route's further and he doesn't have the arm to get it there. So he's got to throw this on time because of his arm strength. Well, with the pressure in his face, since he can't really fully step up, he is unable to deliver it far enough. Maybe he doesn't even need to slide up because he could just chuck this thing deep. But for Goff, it's all timing because he only can throw it so far. He's unable to step up to put as much air under this as he wants to. And if he does slide up, all of a sudden the route's in the end zone and it's too late to even throw it. Campbell was asked about Jared Goff after this game. He's been asked about this many times by the media, but Dan Campbell did say that he believes that he gives us the best chance to win. And he talked about some of the schematic change. He didn't really go into detail, but obviously their scheme changed going in this one. Game plan was much different because of the weather, but it was also some stuff that we talked about that we kind of anticipated coming off of this bye week. week, and we saw some of that in this game, and we'll see some changes probably next week, depending on what the weather is. Filling out, they were jumping on things. Sometimes we just had breakdowns, but the one we did protect well on, we saw the pass to St. Brown, which went over the middle, and it took us all the way to our opponent's 45-yard line, which was huge. Campbell did bring up that there are some passes that, he needs to help us and he needs to make. I think, obviously, you saw the duck to St. Brown, but that was on 3rd and 23, so maybe that one he didn't bring up because of that reason. It also was right after a drop by Swift, which could have put us possibly in a better spot. But he did bring up this one to Khalif Raymond. Now, he didn't say the specifics of what play it was, but I believe he's talking about this screen where he's saying he should have said a dart, and Goff was mad about it. It was coming off this quick screen, which is going to obviously allow players through because they're trying to set up a screen, but Goff put a little too much air on this. We had a couple of these that were successful early. This one, he floated too much over the defender, and because he floated too much, Khalif got hit, too late, so the timing was off on the screen, which blew it up on this 3rd and 4, which didn't allow us to pick up this first down. So I think that's the one that he brought up specifically. I thought I would at least mention this play, the one that we threw to Swift, and it was 2nd and 1. He got smacked behind the line of scrimmage. Watching it back, the play design was interesting here. I think I know what the Lions were going for without being able to see all the all-22. Looks like they tried to hit kind of like a slant flat action, it looked like, with Hawkinson. Linebacker sitting in zone here. He didn't look to squeeze it in. It's hard to tell by this angle if there was really an opening there or not. But then he went back to this check down to Swift. Now, when he throws it, he doesn't really know that St. Brown is going to lose this block, but you can see he does lose the block and Swift gets smacked. And I first look at that, I'm like, whoa, why is this not a flag on the Lions? I mean, we're really blocking downfield before the ball's even thrown. I think this is legal because the Lions did throw it behind the line of scrimmage. And I don't think this was a direct, hey, fake left and then come right back to the right side and throw this quick screen. That could have made sense that they were trying to set that up because, as you can see, St. Brown was the only guy blocking. Khalif also took downfield, which looked like to block as well. So they were setting this up on the right side, and it was look at the slant flat. If it's not there, then come back and throw this pass to Swift underneath, and we'll have our blocker set up. But unfortunately, it was just a little slow. I feel like the timing could have been faster on this with Goff, and we hit Swift, and unfortunately, St. Brown lost his block. He gets hit behind the line of scrimmage. That backed us up. I just want to talk about it because this was a lot of our offense in this game as well. This one was more understandable. I feel like up to this point, it was because we couldn't pass protect and we didn't trust our receivers. This game felt like it was more because of the conditions, so that was our game plan heading into it. Like I said, I feel like with better conditions and having Josh Reynolds, if that's the case, let's say Cleveland is a 55-degree sunny day, I don't think our offense will look like this against Cleveland. I mean, we may try to establish a run, but I do believe it'll look different. And I think Dan Campbell, who, of course, it was his first time being the play caller, I think there's a lot that he can learn from this game situationally. He said he felt like it was good between him and Goff to hear what he's feeling at the same time, what he thinks that he can do in a certain situation, and just having that direct line of communication to him and kind of getting the feel of what to go to. But I do think there's some things that he can learn from, especially in that second half of maybe adjusting it a little bit differently on how we're running some of our plays, because you can see they were kind of jumping and teeing off this defensive line, anticipating some runs, and it was unfortunately setting back our run plays, and it was blowing things up in the backfield, where maybe we could have done a few things to kind of try to slow them down a little bit, maybe more draws on early downs, maybe a few more passes on early downs, but maybe more draws, things like that, just to try to slow down this rush or take advantage of it instead of doing it always on 3rd and 10. Maybe on 1st and 10 you hit them with the draw because they're anticipating jumping up on things. Positive I think you could take away from Campbell doing the play calling is there wasn't like one of those moments where it was like, oh, Campbell, why did we no huddle and run this ball? Why did we do this? We got like too ahead of ourselves, like when we would no huddle and hand it off to Swift and we wouldn't pick it up versus the Rams. That was the case when A. Lynn was calling plays. But it felt like now that Dan Campbell was calling plays, he had to kind of settle down, more strategic, based on the time and the situation. Like after that screen, instead of running up there and saying, okay, they've run another play, he went out there, he tried to get them all to snap it, and they didn't, so he took a delay game and punted it because of how the game was going. We didn't see those things where he's coming after the game and saying, oh my goodness, I wish I wouldn't have done that. I think this is something we'll see going forward, as Dan Campbell probably will continue to be the main play caller because he wasn't happy with being 0-8. And like I said, I'm cool with it. Like, dude, hey, you're the coach of this team. Do something. I'd rather you do this than just sit back. I know it's your first time being like the play caller, but I respect the fact that you're trying to say, this is my team. This is not okay. I'm doing something different. So I think we'll see that going forward. I did this a little bit yesterday, but I still got to credit, even after watching it back, Aaron Glenn's scheme, the way that he attacked his Steelers team with a backup quarterback. We still need to get more pressure because we didn't get nearly enough pressure. Like statistically, it was like 9 pressures on the game. We didn't get nearly enough pressure, but we did stop the run. I thought Brocker stood out a ton. Levi flashed a few times, even Hand from the edge spot. Flowers did a few things for us. I remember he blew up one of those jet sweeps. We were ready for the jet sweeps. I love the fact that they put Will in the box and let him go to work there. We saw a huge splash play from him. The fact that you have multiple guys going down, having Mark Gilbert ready, Dean Marlowe ready. Like, I got to give credit to it. I know I did yesterday, but it's still impressive to me that with the injuries, guys stepped up and they were ready to go. Jacobs technically allowed the highest passer rating. It was like 118. I think he allowed 4 completions on 7 targets. But Mark Gilbert stepped in. I think gave up 2 for 5. The one big one that he did give up, he got back into play and forced a fumble. So I was really impressed with those guys being able to step up. I know it was a backup quarterback and the conditions weren't very good, so that probably helped. But there was a lot of heart from this group. But one thing's for sure, we got to get more pressure because 9 pressures, that's not good. Nearly enough pressure we needed to. I thought a couple guys did some things. Versus tight ends, we seemed okay. Like, we got a little bit of heat there. Julian a couple times. Charles gave us a little something, but it was nowhere near enough. It was nowhere near enough in this game. We got to get to the quarterback and make him uncomfortable more than we are right now, because this O-line was okay, but it wasn't like the Rams O-line. Like, we played a Rams O-line, I was like, yeah, that's a good O-line. This was not the Rams O-line. This was an okay offensive line, but we need to get more pressure. We got to find a way to get home with who we bring, all right? Not necessarily bringing more, but just with who we bring. I like the fact that they put multiple guys on the D-line all the time, 6, 7 guys. They spread it out across the line. They put a lot of single high safety. I liked how they mixed up their safeties. Dean in the box, Will in the box. And when Tracy Walker went down, Jalen Elliott was ready to go. I liked what they showed pre-snap, but we got to find a way to get home more consistently. Brought up a few things defensively. We only allowed 4.8 yards per play, which was the best of our season so far. Again, bad conditions, but it was still the best of the season. I thought the D-line definitely helped us against the run, especially in the second half, but pass rush, again, needs to be better. It's also in red zone. I think red zone defense wasn't bad either. I mean, this is a really good team, and yes, the backup quarterback, but I thought red zone defense was solid. You hung tall twice. You forced a field goal at the 2-yard line. Yeah, you took advantage of some flags, but that's what you're supposed to do. The first one, we did give up a touchdown on their opening drive, but like Campbell said, it was a 3rd down. Actually, to get to that point, it was a 3rd and 3 they picked up on a PI on Amani, which he played much better after that, and then he gave up the completion on the drag, but the PI there. And then it was 3rd and 8, I believe, in their goal line situation where they picked it up, and like he said, we had made missed assignments. He said it was a little confusion there of where AJ Sparks supposed to be. He's supposed to stick with the wheel. You can see T-Walk slides on the inside receiver, so does Jacobs, and AJ doesn't leak out and follow the wheel. But he said they came back later, and I didn't find that play exactly. I'll have to check it through when we look at the All-22. I'm sure we'll find it. But he said they tried to hit with later, and we adjusted for it. And I'm pretty sure if we didn't adjust for it, we would have noticed it and been like, dude, the same play. So that's good that they at least adjusted for that, because we talked about this yesterday. Too many miscommunications in the back end. There's a lot of moving pieces. In the back end. There's a lot of moving pieces. That's a spot that needs to be better. But I think it did look a little bit better watching it back today in terms of the miscommunication front. Either way, that's really the updates for today's video. I guess I'll leave it there. I think that's pretty much everything I want to touch on for this Lions latest episode. Again, we'll dive into like the All-22 a little bit later in the week. We're going to be live tonight at Last Second Sports. Make sure you check us out for Last Second Dose. Thank you, Pride, for watching. And I'm out.